This program is brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to First Issue. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Tonight, we dive into the latest financial report from one of Botswana's banking giants, First National Bank of Botswana. As the global economy teeters on the edge of fresh volatility, FNB Botswana has released its half-year financial results for the period ended 31 December 2025. The bank delivered a steady performance, with profit before tax remaining flat at 1 billion pula, echoing its performance from the prior year. The bank's return on equity, however, took a dive at 32.4%, and lastly, a dividend per share of 15 thebe. These results come as Botswana is clawing back from a difficult year in 2025. Further to this, the announcement was made as geopolitical tensions between Washington and Tehran heighten, threatening economic instability not only for the global market, but most close to home, the banking fraternity, which includes FNB Botswana. We break down the bank's performance and the high-stakes outlook for the next 6 months. First, with the Chief Executive Officer, Stephen Bogatsu, and then later, Acting Chief Financial Officer, Orapeleng Senwelo. Here is our conversation with the CEO. Steve, thank you so much for coming on First Issues. We're here to talk about the bank's half-year financial results for the period ended 31 December 2025. The performance is somewhat flat, but with a 0.3% decline in PBT, right? Maybe we could talk about what led to that outcome.
Thank you very much, Ponatseho. So a couple of things. When you look at the balance sheet, our balance sheet has not necessarily grown because of the challenging macros that we are facing. This is not an environment for credit extension. In other words, it's a difficult environment for our customers with the cost of borrowing that has skyrocketed, making it difficult for them to access facilities and service them. That is number one. Number two, when you look at the income statement, that translation from the balance sheet into the income statement means our net interest income has actually been significantly reduced. It means our interest expenditure has ballooned. Therefore, it has impacted our net interest income. When you look at the impairment line, again, because of the challenging environment, the impairment line has increased. But we have kind of taken a stance as the bank to just make sure that we are future-proofing the performance of the bank going forward. So we have taken some overlays, some provisions in preparation for the difficult environment that we anticipate to occur in the second half of the year. Then when you look at non-interest income, non-interest revenue, because we have been encouraging customers to utilize our various platforms, electronic platforms, we have seen significant growth in our non-interest revenue line. But we continue to invest in the business so that we don't impact our opportunities going into the future.
That is quite true, but I want us to go back to the anticipated difficulties that you're foreseeing in the second half of your financial year. Rightly so, right, with the geopolitical tensions that are happening in the Middle East. So the proofing that you're talking about, are you able to expound further into how the bank is going to be cushioning against such shocks?
So there are a number of things that we are putting in place. We will be stimulating transactions so as to grow the volumes. We will be growing our customer base. Yes, even in an environment where we have majority customer base, we still want to grow our customer base. So a combination of those two factors will result in our non-interest income actually increasing. We continue to look at various ways of bringing in liquidity into the bank, into our bank, so that we can reduce the interest expenditure that we are currently paying in an effort to ensure that we lower the cost of borrowing for our customers. We will also continue investing in our electronic platforms so that we can move our customers. The journey that we started a couple of years ago will continue of moving customers to digital platforms. That is an investment that is important even under the current conditions because it future-proofs where the bank is going into the future. There will be a lot of pressure on the cost line, but what we will be doing is just pruning those costs that are not adding value and ensuring that we continue investing in the business by focusing on skills as well as on platforms.
The bank seems to be ready and prepared for its business, right? But how prepared is the bank in supporting their clients who are going to be going through the consequences of these shocks, of these geopolitical tensions?
Thank you. That is a very, very crucial question, actually, Ponatsego. Because in an environment that we are in, when there are all sorts of macros colluding to make it difficult for our customers, it is important that we are there for our customers to help them navigate the challenges that they are currently facing. So we have established within the credit department an area where the theme in that space is called real help, where we are engaging various customers in an effort to help them with the challenges that they are facing. We know that some of our customers have not been paid for a very long time by various stakeholders with whom they are doing business. We are sitting with those customers and exploring various solutions to help them navigate the challenges that they are facing. We are also helping customers by ensuring that they don't get facilities that are not necessarily going to help them into the future. So the question of responsible lending becomes very critical in this environment because you do not want your customers to be burdened with obligations that they cannot meet.
Bitsa motho gore motho a leke mangwala e go duela metsi.
Mama, kana male jana ha o tlhoka le go tsamela kgakala gore go duela metsi. FNB re diretse tiro motho.
Senthe.
Ma kwa go marekisetsong a ile gore ana le tshwala FNB Cash Plus. Se se tlhokanyela ke o mang wa gago mo tirisong le reference number e bon dinomoro tse diriswang go ruratsa dituelo tsa gago.
FNB what?
FNB Cash Plus.
Madonna makante ke ngotso sampolele ka mananeo ya FNB ya Cash Plus.
La ha re le nna ke gone go utang ka dona ebile ke ne ke sa dumele.
Deposit cash and coins, withdraw from e-wallet, make cardless cash withdrawals, buy prepaid airtime and electricity, pay bills such as water, electricity and many more.
FNB. Dona. Nyawa ene ke ra sa thare. Mpare mo tiki. Na ke ra go motho go thoela mamarapedi go tola sekontere hela o bua go semosong a go duela semosong manane wa FNB Cash Plus.
FNB, how can we help you?
We continue to look at various ways of bringing in liquidity into the bank, into our bank, so that we can reduce the interest expenditure that we are currently paying in an effort to ensure that we lower the cost of borrowing for our customers.
Welcome back to First Issues. We're now joined by First National Bank of Botswana's Acting Chief Financial Officer, Orapeleng Senwelo, who will now briefly unpack the bank's half-year financial results for the period ended 31 December 2025.
Yeah, so look, when you look at the construct of the income statement, right? I mean, we've done $1 billion PBT, but just key things to consider in terms of really what goes into that number, that final number, right? So at the top line, you've got your interest income that's gone up 15%. So two key issues that contribute to this 15% growth. One is that our advances are up 4% year on year. We've taken a deliberate decision to say we're not going to go aggressive on lending, coming out of the fact that obviously when there is liquidity challenges, credit risk gets heightened. So that's the first thing to consider. And then of course, the other one is a couple of months ago, quite a number of banks obviously reacting to the high cost of funding. We also had to react in terms of pricing, right? So our PLR or price lending rate has been adjusted by 100 bips, okay? So those are the two key things that would have contributed to the growth. Mm-hmm. The other one that I can also talk about is obviously investing in securities, right? Yeah. So moving from low yielding margins to government bonds or T-bills that give you high yielding margins, right? So that's another contributor to that 15%, increase on interest income. When you look at cost of funding, it has become a big issue for us, just in terms of managing the heightened cost of funds, right? You'd see that we are up 110% year on year. Term deposits are moving from average 5% to about 10.4%. So there is a problem there. And obviously you need to bring in all kinds of tactics to manage very well to ensure that your margins are, within our appetite. The other key area of focus for us in the income statement performance is your impairment, right, or your provisions, right. So we are looking at a 221 million number, where we say during this time when credit risk is heightened, liquidity pressures are all over the place, we have to ensure that we are adequately provided as a bank, right? But when you look at the portfolios in question, the quality of the book hasn't dropped. NIR is going to be critical for us going forward, just to make sure that we diversify as much as we can, because on the interest income, we don't have a lot of control. We do have control, but we just need to make sure that the things that are within our control, we are able to then make sure that we can sustain operations going forward.
1 billion Pula flat, which is, it is resonant with the previous period's PBT, right? And this is an impressive number, considering that 2025 was quite a difficult environment to be operating in. But even so, the operating costs are still hiking at 13% comparable to the previous period. Why is that?
There's quite a number of considerations, that you then look at when you spend on whatever it is that you have to spend on. We are going to be focusing our spend on areas that gives us benefit, right, or adds value, to our operations, right. The one critical area is investing in the right platforms, as an example, right? So investing in the right platforms obviously gives us that advantage again to push our NIR up. We've talked about how we want to ensure that there's focus in that line, right? The other key area for us, if you look at the composition of our costs, 55%, almost 55% relates to staff costs, right? We will continue to ensure that we take care of our people. Our people drive these results. One, we need to make sure that we are training people, giving them the right skills that we will need in the future to continue to run this business sustainably so, and be able to compete. Our retention strategies of key skills that we need as an organization is also very important for us to make sure that we are able to retain that talent. So those are the things that, when you are thinking is 13% too much, we are saying spend in the right places and then get value in the future. Yeah.
Still on increments, the bank's deposits increased by about 2%, right? While this is impressive, it is also quite curious because the period under review was marred by a lot of market uncertainties that threatened liquidity even for clients. So then what would you say this increment is an indicator of?
Look, this increment of 2% is very muted in our view, and it also takes into account the fact that you really need to carefully look at the pricing dynamics that occurred during this period with the cost of funding going up, etc. What we saw happen, is clients obviously wanting more, but 2% in our view, it's managing the situation well. One, ensuring that the cost of funding doesn't increase irresponsibly. But what is also important is to just make sure that we've got the funding mix that we require for us to be able to, to lend wherever we want to lend.
ta bitsa motho gore motho a leke mangwala go duela metsi.
Mama, ka re jana ha o tlhoka le go tsamela kgakala gore go duela metsi. FNB re diretse tiro motho. Ma kwa go marekisetsong a ile gore ana le tshwao la FNB Cash Plus. Se se tlhokanyela ke o mang wa gago mo tirisong le reference number e bong dinomoro tse diriswang go ruragatsa dituelo tsa gago.
FNB what?
FNB Cash Plus.
Madonna makante ke ntse samplele ka mananeo a FNB ya Cash Plus.
Hela, ha re le nna ke gone go utwang ka dona. Ebile ke ne ke sa dumele.
Deposit cash and coins, withdraw from e-wallet, make cardless cash withdrawals, buy prepaid airtime and electricity, pay bills such as water, electricity and many more.
FNB. Dona. Nyawa ene ke ra sa thare. Mpare motiki. Na ke ra go motho hela mamarapedi go tola sekontere hela o bua go semosong wa go duela semosong manane wa FNB Cash Plus.
FNB, how can we help you?
The other key area of focus for us in the income statement performance is your impairment, right? Or your provisions, right? So we are looking at a 221 million number where we say during this time when credit risk is heightened, liquidity pressures are all over the place, we have to ensure that we are adequately provided as a bank.
Thank you so much for staying with First Issues. As we look toward the next 6 months, the fresh volatility mentioned in the FNB Botswana report is not just a buzzword. It is a real concern that operational environment will be shaped by geopolitical tensions and policy uncertainty. In that same breath, what should customers expect and look forward to?
As I indicated with the investments that we intend to continue rolling out, our customers and other stakeholders can expect that the bank will continue rolling out products that make it convenient for customers to do banking with us. That's number one. Number two, the bank will continue exploring ways of ensuring that we make banking cheaper for our customers. There are various platforms, there are various products and services that our customers can take advantage of that will lower their cost of doing banking in order that we add some value into their banking lives. So those are the sort of things that we'll continue making. The most important thing for the shareholders is to actually protect the asset that we are custodians over as employees of the bank. So it is important that we continue being very prudent in our approach to banking, given the environment that we are operating in. I would have said exactly the same thing last week. But that comment is further amplified by the situation that is currently unraveling throughout the world in the Middle East. And therefore, it is important that the asset that we have been given custodianship over is protected, that is to the shareholder. And for the community, we will continue helping the community in various respects with the targets that we have around ESG, with some of the initiatives that our staff members have around helping the various communities where they operate through the FNB Foundation, and many other objectives within the segments where there is a focus on helping government or partnering with government in their transformation plan and agenda. So those are the various things that we will continue doing in order to ensure that the bank delivers on its results to the various stakeholders.
The next 6 months for us is going to be very important. If we compare our outlook for H2 and H1, obviously the performance is not going to be the same. We will be challenged in quite a number of things. And what we then say is that we need to continuously monitor these geopolitical tensions, issues in terms of really what is happening. What is also critical for us is what sort of help do we give, government in terms of just making sure that we are able to resuscitate, our economy going forward. And I think it's a big area where we want to play and make sure that we continue to contribute, right? We've talked about, the fact that even during this time, it's very important for us to be there, particularly for SMEs, because during liquidity challenges, SMEs are the most challenged business. If you're not doing any business, then what sort of solutions do we put out there for these small enterprises to ensure that they continue to operate? And we've got quite a number of initiatives. If you look at SMEs as an example, we've put together solutions where we're saying, working capital solutions for a period of time. We're able to make sure that we assist and they're able to sustain their operations. We continue to provide the right solutions that simplify the way that our clients do business, right? The investments in the platforms that we've talked about will be critical to make sure that you invest in the right areas, to ensure that you continue to obviously provide solutions to our clients that really solve the critical pain points that our clients are facing.
First National Bank of Botswana is entering the second half of its financial year with a high-performance culture. But as shipping lanes in the Middle East face threats and the United States of America dictates new trade terms, the bank's ability to navigate foreign exchange volatility will be its most critical asset in the months to come. On that note, we've come to the end of tonight's installment of First Issues. Until next time, good night.
This program was proudly brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.